Hello lovely beaders. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'll show you how I made this unique stud earring. I didn't record the process of making the cabochon because at the time, I had no idea I would end up using it in a beading tutorial. But it turned out so beautiful that I just had to make a piece of jewelry with it. So I went ahead and created this striking earring. My resin cabochon was made with resin petri dish technique. Don't worry, you don't need to make your own resin cabochon to follow this tutorial. You can buy similar ones made from glass, resin, polymer clay, or even gemstones in this size. The first step is to attach the earring post to the back of the cabochon. You can do this with jewelry glue as I'm showing now. I use Hazelith jewelry glue, but you can use any type you have. Just make sure to give it enough time to set properly so that the earring post stays securely in place. Place a small ball of glue on the cabochon and cover the earring base with glue, then press them together. It's okay if a little glue leaks around the earring base. The beaded bezel will cover the entire back anyway. Try to center the earring base as much as you can. Repeat this process on both of the cabochons. My glue recommends a 24-hour curing time, but if you know me, you know I'm not that patient. I just can't wait that long. So instead, I wiped off the glue and moved over to my resin workstation. I used UV resin to attach the earring post to the cabochon. It sets much faster and is just as secure as jewelry glue. But if you don't have UV resin, don't worry. Just plan ahead and use jewelry glue. Just be sure to wait for it to fully cure so the earring post doesn't fall off while you're beading. Trust me, I've been there. I put a small amount of UV resin on the cabochon, placed the earring base on it, smoothed the resin out and cured it. It only took 5 minutes and I was ready to bead. I made my cabochon with resin because resin art is another thing I love doing. And now I will show you what I used to make my cabochons. I used the 3rd size hole in that mold. My resin was the color berry resin, although it's not exactly for jewelry making, but it's all I have at home for now. This resin is more for geode art and has a mixing ratio of 1:1. So it is a thick resin and sorry to say, but it has millions of bubbles. And still don't have place for my vacuum chamber and I don't have time to watch the bubbles and pop them if they rise. I used these alcohol inks to achieve this color. This is from Limino brand and the white is the Piñata white named Blanco. That is the story of my cabochons, and now let me show you the beads I used. As I said, you have to glue the earring base very firmly, otherwise it may inevitably come off while beading the back of the cabochon, or you have to pay close attention to every move. For my first cabochon bezel, I used white beads on the back, but later I realized that this might be difficult to follow for someone who hasn't done this type of beading before. So I took the earrings apart and beaded them again, this time using black and white beads on the back as well. Naturally, I'll be showing you the video with the easier version. Start the beading by stringing 40 pieces of size 11 delica beads alternating the black and white colors. Bring the beads down on your thread and go through some beads to form a circle with them. Step out from a white delica bead. Start a peyote row with black delicas. You are exiting from a white delica. String 1 black delica and go through the next white delica from your circle. Repeat around. I sped up parts of this video a little bit, to not bore you with the repeated parts of the beading. Don't forget that you can slow it down by clicking on the cogwheel icon and selecting the speed you want. When you are making a bezel, you use tubular peyote stitch. In tubular peyote you work in a continuous circle. But each row still has an ending point, so you need to keep track of where it stops. When you reach the last bead, you have to step up to start the next row. And to do the step up, you need to go through the last white bead from your starting circle and the first black bead strung in the new row. Start a new peyote row now with white delicas. By alternating the colors like this, the rows are easy to see. You only need to bead one color at a time and switch to the next color in the following row. That's what gives it this striped look like piano keys. With the last bead, don't forget to step up for the next row. Start a new peyote row. String black delicas in this row. As I mentioned at the beginning, resin art is my second favorite creative activity. But I still consider it a hobby. I'm still learning, so I don't want to make videos about it just yet. Usually, out of one batch, only a few pieces turn out the way I like. Ones I'd actually dare to show. Like this pretty pink cabochon, for example. Don't forget to step up for the next row. Start a new peyote row. Now string size 15 seed beads in white color. The petri dish technique, which I used to make this cabochon, looks simple when you watch it in a video. But once you start doing it yourself, you realize there are a lot of challenges. The thickness of the resin, the strength of the alcohol ink, the bubbles, or even just the timing of mixing everything together. It all makes a difference. And it could turn either way. It could be pretty or you need to throw it away. Don't forget to step up for the next row. This will be our last row for the front side of the earring. This will be a star-like decoration, a type of decreasing. Add a bead in every other gap, but don't let the thread show, so go down in the black delica and back in the white seed bead to reach the next gap. Repeat around. I prefer the beading more because if something doesn't turn out well or I don't like it, I can simply cut the thread and start over. The beads stay intact and can be reused, only the thread ends up in the trash. The front side of the bezel is finished. Lead your thread to the back side of the bezel and step out from a black delica bead. Start a peyote row with size 15 seed beads in white color. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, don't worry if you don't have a resin cabochon like this. You can find similar sized cabochons in bead stores or by searching online. With a simple search, I found plenty of potential options. Of course, not all of them are as thick as mine, but don't worry, it's very easy to adjust the pattern for a thinner cabochon. Don't forget to step up for the next row. Put the cabochon inside the bezel. The bezel will not hold the cabochon yet. This is the part where you need to hold the cabochon firmly, pull the last row as tight as you can and make the next row even more tight. And this is the part where I realized that I need to bring in the size 15 seed beads in black color to make this part more visible for you. Make a peyote row with size 15 seed beads in black color. If you found a cabochon that is thinner, just make the delica part of the bezel fewer with 2 rows. Instead of having 2 white and 3 black rows, you'll have 1 white and 2 black. The section with size 15 seed beads stays the same. It is easy, don't you think? Don't forget to step up for the next row. If you pulled the last row as tight as you can, then the bezel will hold the cabochon now. Start a peyote row with size 15 seed beads in white color. Now that we have a moment, I'd love to ask for your support. If you enjoyed this video and found it valuable, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it a thumbs up. Sharing my knowledge here is completely free, but to keep things going and continue providing helpful content, I rely on your support. Your engagement helps the channel grow and reach more people, so thank you for being a part of this journey. If you'd like to go even further, you can buy me a coffee, or check out my tutorials and jewelry pieces. Links are in the description. Thanks for all your help. Don't forget to step up for the next row. The next row will be a decreasing row. Instead of adding beads in every gap, you'll only add them in every second one. So string a bead in the first gap, skip the next, then add another bead in the third gap. Don't go back in the black row. This row is not a decoration row, it is a decreasing row. Keep repeating this all the way around. Recently I've been experimenting with different ways to reach more people on Facebook, but it's been tough. Even when I ask my followers to like or share my posts if they see them, the response is really low. It feels like Facebook just isn't showing my content to many people anymore. Have you noticed something similar? Don't forget to step up for the next row. Start a peyote row with size 15 seed beads in white color. I know that many artists and small businesses are struggling with the same issue. Facebook reach has dropped significantly. Even regular followers don't always see my new posts. So if you have any tips on how to improve engagement or work around this, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to step up for the next row. Start a peyote row with size 15 seed beads in black color. Don't forget to step up for the next row. Make a peyote row with size 15 seed beads in white color. This row will be the last white row. The more I look at this earring, the more I love it. And here's a little secret. I'm already making a purple cabochon for another pair. This color combination really makes a statement. At least for me. Don't forget to step up for the next row. This row will be a decreasing row again. String beads in every second gap. You will have to string only 5 beads. These beads will cover the base of the earring. In the last row you need to pull together the last 5 beads strung in the previous row. This will hold the earring base securely. You can go through this last row multiple times if you want, and if you can. The more secure this part is, the more lifetime the earring will have. The earring is finished. You will need to weave in the thread and cut it. You will need at least 3 turnarounds to be safe to cut the thread. I usually make more, and I am not only turning but I go through a lot of beads between turns. What do you think about my color choices? Do you think this vibrant pink goes well with the black and white bezel? And that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for hanging out with me. See you next week.